Hello everybody and welcome to my week 2 update of Wobster's Spookytober. I'm going to start using an airbrush. I'm just going to swap over. I'm going to switch to my Patriot 105. It's got 0.30 needle in. I'm going to go for the Vallejo Game Colour Desert Yellow. This is game colour range, so we need to thin it a bit using just a bit of Vallejo airbrush thinner, paint in the cup, and I always find it's a good idea just to do a bit of a trial run with the airbrush just to see if it's right. You can see here I'm just adding a bit of paint to thicken it up. Give it a bit of a mix. Trying it out again, quite happy with the consistency, so here we go. So basically all I'm doing, I'm just putting a base, using this desert yellow as a base all over, getting into all the recesses, all the nooks and crannies. This is my starting point. Really like the black versions of this model. The majority of ones I looked at when I was doing research for this project were all black. They looked really good. However, I like to try and do something a bit different, so I'm going to try for a brown one. Oh, that's the idea anyway. So here I'm using Vallejo Model Air Colour Burnt Umber. You can see you can use it straight from the paint into the cup. And basically I'm just targeting all the fair areas, so where the fair is on his back. And the good thing with this burnt umber colour is it's a little opaque, so you can sort of try and sort of get a blend of colours, if you know what I mean. So where you put the paint on thicker, the colour's a bit more intense, a bit darker. So what I've done is I've sort of done it a light colour near the edge and a darker colour down the sort of spinal areas and the tops of the thighs. Oh, incidentally, I switched my airbrushes over to a Badger Chrome. This has got a 0.21 nozzle in it. It just gives me a bit more control for doing finer detail work. So this is the stage we're at now. I still wasn't too happy. I wanted it to look a bit darker. So I've used Camo Medium Brown. Again from the Model Air colour range, so I can just chuck it straight in. It's always a good idea just to give it a bit of a squirt on a piece of paper or something, just to make sure everything's flowing right and you've got all the cleaner out your airbrush before you actually put paint to model. And again, I'm just targeting the back of the head, the spine, the tops of the legs with this darker brown. Then I'm going to start and work on the skin tone. So I've gone again for another Model Air colour, basically because I'm lazy and I don't like thinning paints, it takes too long. I'm using Vallejo Model Air Sand, and in brackets it's got Ivory. Use this colour actually on my Deathwing Terminators, which you can see in the background, a bit of a work in progress. So here I am, I'm targeting, this is actually quite tricky because you don't want to get this light coloured sand paint all over the dark areas that you've just sprayed. So just go steady, just watch for where your overspray is going. I'm targeting the chests, the backs of the arms, underneath the neck, the bottom of the legs, and of course his butt. I also did the backs of his hands, palms of his hands. Just working that paint in there. leaving some of the desert yellow in the deepest recesses. I kind of got to the end of this stage, and we started to get a little bit worried at this point. I thought the miniature was starting to look a little bit sort of cartoony, and I was a bit dubious. But then I thought, right, well, we'll move on to the next steps and we'll see, because once we get all the details painted, it'll break it up. So I then moved on to the Citadel paints, the Pratt XT White. Where did they get these names from? That's ridiculous. That's basically, it's the dry brush white that Citadel use, and I'm basically just dry brushing the fur. I also gave the chest details a bit of a dry brush as well. Just basically pick out all the detail. It actually helps as well, because you can see where the actual fleshy bits, the skin, where the skin's been torn as well. So that'll help out later on. I then, to tie everything together, I gave the whole model wash in Citadel Ogrin Flesh. And that's the whole, all the chest, all the fur, everything all over. And then once that dried, I moved on to Agrax Earthshade, and I just brushed this onto the fair sections. Just the idea being to try and darken down the white overbrush. You'll see in a minute that things didn't quite go according to plan, which they often don't on a project like this. But that's the beauty of an airbrush. You put paint on something, you can soon deal with it. But I'll explain how I got round it in a minute. You can just say I'm using quite a big brush there. That's really pretty much a time-saving technique. The only thing I'll say about that is just be careful you don't put too much of these shades on, because you don't want the shades pooling and making droplets and shadows where you don't really want shadows to be. So you just keep. I just put a little bit in the top. Just keep it where you want. Keep the paint where you want it. Stop it from dirt. Try and avoid dribbles and stuff like that. So this is the stage we're getting to now. I'm starting to be a little bit more happier with it at this stage. Quite happy with the flesh turn, and it's contrasting quite nicely with the fur. But I still think the little bits of white dry brushing that we've done, that I've done on this model, still just showing a bit too white, a bit too bright. It looks a bit unnatural. So to get round that, I picked up Model Air again, khaki brown colour. You could probably get away with something like Graveyard Earth or something like that from the Citadel paints if you didn't have these model colours. Daka Forums has got a great paint conversion chart on it, so if you haven't got the colours I've used here, you can use something. The whole point of this is it's a wolf, it's a natural animal beastie type thing. There's no hard and fast set colours. It's not like you're painting armour for Space Marines where everything's got to be the same. It's organic, it's a bit more flowy. You can get away with changes of colour. You just basically play around with the model, pretty much like I've done. Try and experiment with different washes, different things. Basically all I've done here is I've just lightly overbrushed the white bits that are picked out with the dry brush with this brown, so that we'll get this sort of two-tone fair type look. So to the end of the video I'll take a few close-up pictures, but at this point I'm quite happy with the skin tone and the fur. So the next thing to do, I'm going to work on the fleshy skin bits, the flappy skin bits, and some of the details. Thanks very much for watching. Please please comment, rate, subscribe, and thanks for watching again. Evil out.